Hello, SR Student Ministry, parents, guardians, guys, super excited about this upcoming Sunday. This is actually a topic that I really enjoy talking about with our students. We are going to be getting into the concept of love in an intimate relationship with another person. And so that looks like human love, meaning between a boy and a girl. And what does that mean? What does that look like for us in a biblical manner? So, some of the topics that we are going to be discussing very briefly, as we don't have a lot of time on this Sunday evening, is we are going to talk about dating. What is the purpose of dating? Why do you date someone? And now, ultimately, this is for you to process with your kids. But we're going to talk about what biblical dating looked like. The terms of what dating looked like in the Old Testament and New Testament were very, very different. It was not like, hey, you want to go grab a movie or watch this or go check out, take a trip with me. That wasn't what dating was. And the real reason why was because they understood love was a commitment. And so it was more about identifying the type of person that they wanted to be with. And then after that point, making the choice and commitment to humbly submit to one another and lead and guide from that point forward. And so when we talk about biblical dating, there's no such thing as what we have culturally within biblical dating, but the same principle of purpose applies. It is the idea of pursuing someone and figuring out if this is the kind of person that you would seek to marry, which then adds a lot of context for our high school students. Should we be dating in high school? Should we be dating in high school? It's a question that they have to answer, especially because we do know that there's multiple years before they would most likely graduate and get married. And that's not to say that you can't date in high school. It's more just to recognize what's the purpose of dating and coming to terms with that piece. And that, listen, it works out differently for different people. So please don't hear that I'm condemning high school relationships. I would not probably encourage it, but it's ultimately up to the family and those individuals and you guys and your parenting style. So we're going to talk about dating. Another thing we're going to talk about is purity. What does it look like to stay pure within a relationship? And not just physically. We tend to harp on this one. I do think that is important. We are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how sex is not just a physical act or something to just be given away. Sex is this beautiful, intimate relationship, this intimate detail that you get to have with another individual where we reflect what it's like with God to have that level of safety and protection, and even in my own life, just the recognition of what it looks like to have that within a commitment. To have that within a commitment is all as you're in your most vulnerable state, you are literally doing it with someone, recognizing that no matter what happens, the individual there has made a commitment to loving you and walking with you and journeying with you. And so it's been super important for me in my own walk, and I want to encourage our students with the same concept. But there's so much more than just physical. It looks like emotional health, spiritual health with someone else dating. Listen, we have a lot of relationships that they don't do anything physically, but they're so impure with their emotional dependency on one another that they're codependent and they can't do anything without one another. They can't, those are some of the things we're going to identify, we're going to work through and just say, listen, what does it look like to have a healthy relationship? Because when you have, so there's really three main elements to this dating concept, right? So we have, spiritual growth, we have emotional growth, we have physical. And when you propel one super high above the others, it puts pressure on the other two to raise to that level. For example, if you pour all this time, effort, and energy into emotional healthiness, then it's going to put pressure on the physical and the spiritual to grow in tandem. Otherwise, you have an unbalanced relationship. Same thing with physical. A lot of people that sadly resort to a very physical relationship have a hard time because they're trying to jump. They've gone all the way up to here and their emotional is down here, and that takes time to develop and time to encourage. And so that takes time to rise to that level. Meanwhile, this is at kind of a stopping point if you're setting healthy boundaries. And so these are all things for our students to process. Now, all that being said, that is what we're talking about this Sunday night. And I want to make sure you guys are aware, because if you do not feel comfortable letting me have part of that conversation, and I would honestly say I'd rather having our parents have that conversation, then I would encourage you to keep your kids home this week. Not because I don't want them there. I'd love it if this sparks some conversations for you at home. And I don't also view it as my responsibility or the student ministry's responsibility to teach all these things. But if you feel like you would prefer to tailor and make sure that that message comes across differently for your students, you want to keep them home and teach them that, listen, I'm more power to you. This is a partnership. I just want to come alongside and help, and I want to make sure parents are aware of what we're communicating and what that looks like prior to it happening. So we're excited about this Sunday night. We're excited about the topics that we're going to be talking about. We're excited to broach into that and have conversation with our students about this stuff, because they're processing it. They are talking about it. Do not mistake it. They are talking about it. They're just talking about it with other groups of people, their friends, the internet, social media. That's where they're learning these things. We as the church and we as our parents, families need to step up and make sure that we are training and teaching our students. So excited for this Sunday night. Hope you guys will just bathe that in prayer and ask some hard-hitting questions as we break out from Sunday night's Ridge. So God bless and have a good one.